Yeah, thank you for making time. I should mention beforehand that for full disclosure, I'm with the board of Haribon, but this is not why you're here. You're here willingly, I hope.
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you for making time. Maybe before we begin, the major theme in Haribon, at least when I got started with it a long time ago, is biodiversity. That's a big word. What does it exactly mean, and how does Haribon fit into that theme?
Biodiversity means like, let's, of course, from the word diverse.
Okay.
So we have a number of different species all over the country. That's terrestrial, that's of course trees, flora, fauna, marine species. So we have about 52,177 endemic species in our country alone, that which cannot be found in any other part of the world. So biodiversity means the more, it's like parts of an ecosystem.
Right.
So all of these parts are essential so that the ecosystem is kept healthy and running.
Right.
If we lose those,
Right.
okay, if we lose those, there will be an imbalance.
Okay.
What people don't seem to realize is that each area in our country or
Right.
anybody's country has different ecosystems. So for instance, like we have our marine sanctuary we established in Manila, Cathedral Rock, Twin Rocks, and Arthur's. Okay, so those three are not too far apart if you take it by boat, but the ecosystems already vary from from Cathedral to Arthur, magkaiba na yan.
Right.
From Cathedral to Mainit, another area in Manila, magkaiba na yan. From Cathedral to Basura, dive site, magkaibang ecosystem yan. So when we destroy one ecosystem, the others get affected.
Right.
Yes.
So it's interesting because I don't think Filipinos really or truly appreciate how rich our natural resources are, and we hear about it, but this is proof of it that unfortunately, and correct me if I'm wrong, unfortunately I don't think enough people, of our people, appreciate it. Is that your impression?
Yes, that's true. When it comes to our natural resources, in terms of tourism, that can actually generate us a lot of money.
A lot of income.
Oh yes, as you know, Galapagos is doing it.
Yeah.
Cocos is doing it, and we could actually follow suit.
Right.
But we're more into destructive industries and we sell our natural resources in that way, mining, oil.
That's unfortunate. I'll get to that in a minute. But sticking first to biodiversity, despite the fact that not the Filipinos appreciate the richness, the riches that we have, there's a lot of concern from private sector, from the government to do something about the environment. Tree planting activities are very important, very common. And again, going back to biodiversity, my frustration is, and please react to this, my frustration is that they mean well when they plant trees, but they end up planting the wrong trees. You mentioned native species.
Yes.
What's the harm of planting trees that are not native or not indigenous?
Well, when you plant, they call it exotic. No, they don't call it foreign, they call it exotic. Exotic trees.
That makes it even more more attractive.
Exactly, like, desirable.
But it's actually harmful.
Yeah, correct. So when you plant exotic trees, well, they had this impression before that exotic trees kasi grow faster.
Okay.
So it's instant gratification. And to them, I think it's part of our culture that we tend to look at foreign things.
They put more value to
exactly because
something important.
that was inculcated into our culture for centuries by the Spanish, diba?
Right.
So when they look at the foreign trees, they feel it's beautiful. The thing is, the foreign trees are parasitic, meaning it does not give us any value to the ecosystem that we have.
Right.
So for instance, when it just sucks up the nutrients from the soil. Now, when the trees fall, there's a study that showed when the leaves fall on the ground,
right,
it makes the soil acidic.
Right.
Unlike native trees,
right,
when the leaves fall from the native trees, it becomes nutritious to our soil.
Right.
So when we are using foreign trees or exotic trees, natatanggal yung nutrients ng soil. Pag nawala ang nutrients ng soil, that becomes another problem, desertification.
Right.
So when, you plant vegetables, for example, in that soil,
Right. So would it be,
nothing happens, no nutrients.
yeah, would it be correct to say that if you are to have an earnest to goodness tree planting program, the better approach would be to try to recreate the forest? Is that the correct way? I mean, we're talking about biodiversity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because remember when I mentioned to you that ecosystems vary from one place to
Right.
another, it's the same thing with the forest. So
Okay.
when you go and plant trees in an area, you
Okay.
have to make sure it's the same trees that were uprooted from that area.
Right.
Kailangan, kunwari, pag pumunta ka sa isang area, dun sa, sabihin natin sa Tanay, kung
Right.
yung mga puno dun mga katmon o
Right.
malabulak,
Right.
yan, or
You
nara.
get frustrated when you hear local people say, referring to a native tree, ay, walang silbi na.
Ay, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Because
Not knowing,
Not knowing.
The benefits of it.
oh, because kasi isa pa, another thing that I forgot to mention a while ago is that native trees are attracted to our native birds.
Okay.
So when they see a foreign tree, parang di nila type.
Okay.
Ganon. Buti ba yung mga birds, malakas yung nationalistic spirit nila. Pero yung mga birds natin, they will live in the native trees. They eat from it, they live in it, they get to multiply in it, It's like the same thing with their coral reefs.
Right.
So, pag naging nawalang native trees, nawawalan sila na matitirhan.
Right.
Also with bats, also with insects, also with reptiles.
Right.
So
Right.
they lose their housing. So what happens is that they tend to go to human habitats.
Right.
Yon.
So planting native trees is important because we want to support the wildlife.
Exactly.
Okay. Does
Yeah.
that mean that the exotic tree species have no place in our country? I mean, if you plant trees in cities, for example, you don't want local wildlife in your cities. Is there an argument there that maybe they have a place in our urban landscapes?
Probably in a botanical garden.
Okay.
Where people can appreciate.
Study them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But not necessarily for like in real estate, let's say
Right.
kunwari in real estate
Yeah.
development, our parks should still have native trees.
Okay.
Because we still want the birds there.
Right.
There is a difference
Okay.
between a park that has native trees and a park that's full of foreign trees.
Okay.
When you go to a park that's full of native trees, there's so much noise.
Okay.
The birds are chirping,
Right.
you get to hear insects at
Right.
night, you see fireflies.
Right.
Pero pag exotic trees, foreign trees, it's
Dead.
just silence. Correct. And also energy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not kidding because I used to go around the parks all the time in our village. We have
Yeah.
13 parks there. And I noticed those that are not touched by our, we just let it grow wild,
Yeah.
it feels calmer. It feels it feels healthy.
Okay. The other thing that I've noticed that's sort of frustrating is that, okay, so there are some people who are informed about the importance of indigenous trees when they are tree planting, but what they tend to do, I don't know if it's because it's simpler, is that they tend to plant monocultures. So again, it goes against your idea of recreating the forest, which
Yes.
is
Yes.
different trees in an area. Is that a problem that you noticed, Nina?
It is a problem because
Okay.
when you plant naman pag monoculture, what is your goal?
Right,
Why would you
right.
plant like hectares of nara?
Right.
You're going to plant hectares of nara because eventually you're going to cut it down
Right.
for furniture.
Okay.
Diba? But if you want to really have a biodiverse area, you plant about according to our forester, si Thadi, you plant about 10. At
Okay.
least 10 species, different kinds of species in an area. So that would be have fruiting, flowering,
Okay.
ganyan. Iba-iba dapat para biodiverse.
Right.
Yun.
Now, does that contribute? You said it contributes to wildlife. Does that contribute also to better soil management?
Oh, definitely.
Water. I mean,
Yes.
those are issues that people don't seem to immediately associate with forest, right? Recreating forest, which is the point of tree planting, right?
Correct. There's a big benefit to that. Kasi maganda, you see birds we have a thing for, Haribon has a love for birds. We actually
Started out as a bird watching
exactly.
society.
Yes, that's right. So we even actually coined the word Haribon.
Yeah.
That comes from Bob Kennedy, our founder. When the birds and the insects are around, there's a cycle.
Right.
Mother Nature.
It's that ecosystem that you're saying.
Yes, it's an ecosystem. Mother Nature created that ecosystem when there's no waste. So
Okay.
even the poop of the bird is beneficial to our soil.
Right.
It will make things grow. The poop of the bird will have fruits in it or seeds in it, and it will make things grow. So it's a cycle that has no waste. Everything is utilized.
Right.
And the thing is, when we start invading, humans tend to think na Mother Nature will take care of it, but actually we're destroying it. And she's like adjusting and shocked, and you know. So she tries to compensate. So when you try to compensate, the machine is not working properly.
Right. So it's important to have not only the motivation to help, but there's also the education on how to do it correctly.
The science should be there.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. That's very interesting. We'll just have to take a quick break. We're talking to Ms. Varona of Haribon Foundation. This is Business and Politics. We'll be right back.